Ladies and gentlemen, let me be real with you for a moment because this message is not easy, but it is necessary. We have learned how to walk away fast. We've learned how to block, ignore, replace, and move on like people are disposable. The minute something hurts, the minute it doesn't feel good anymore, we call it a sign to quit. But sometimes pain is not a signal to leave. Sometimes pain is a signal to slow down and look closer. Real love is proven during pain, not during comfort, and that truth is hard to accept when emotions are heavy, when everything feels good, when laughter flows and affection is easy, love feels certain. But certainty disappears the moment discomfort enters the picture. Arguments, misunderstandings, silence, and emotional distance make people question everything. Pain has a way of blurring perspective, making it seem like love is fading when it is actually being tested. The presence of pain does not automatically mean the absence of love. Often, it means love has reached a level where it matters enough to hurt. Comfort requires no effort. Anyone can stay when there is nothing to lose, when feelings are light and expectations are low. Pain, however, demands intention. It forces people to choose whether the connection is worth the struggle. When someone remains emotionally connected during painful moments, when they don't disappear or become indifferent, that is love showing its strength. Real love doesn't only exist in good times, it survives pressure. It stands firm when emotions are uncomfortable and answers are unclear. Pain reveals priorities. When things hurt, people show what truly matters to them. A person who loves you will still care about how you feel, even when they are upset. They will still think about the impact of their actions, even when emotions are running high. They may not handle the situation perfectly, but the concern remains. That concern is the proof. If love were gone, there would be no struggle, no emotional weight, no desire to fix what feels broken. Discomfort often exposes deeper emotions that were hidden during easier times. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. These fears surface when love becomes real. Pain is not always about harm. Sometimes it is about vulnerability. When two people begin to care deeply, they risk being hurt, and that risk can feel overwhelming. The pain comes from how much is at stake, not from the absence of love. Choosing to stay engaged during painful moments requires emotional maturity. It means resisting the urge to react impulsively or shut down completely. It means understanding that love is not a constant feeling, but a series of choices. Each time someone chooses to communicate instead of withdraw, to understand instead of accuse, love proves its authenticity. Comfort never demands growth. Pain does. When love endures discomfort, it becomes resilient. It gains depth, trust, and understanding. Love that has never been tested remains fragile. Love that has survived pain carries wisdom. Pain is not the enemy of love. Avoidance is. Real love doesn't crumble at the first sign of discomfort. It reveals itself there. Hurt does not always mean harm, and that distinction is something many people overlook. When emotions are intense, when something hurts, the natural reaction is to protect yourself by pulling away. Pain feels like a warning sign telling you something is wrong, but not all pain is destructive. Some pain comes from growth, from change, from learning how to navigate a deeper level of connection with another person. Just because something is uncomfortable does not mean it is unsafe or unhealthy. Growth stretches people beyond what they already know, and stretching is rarely painless. When two people begin to care deeply, they are forced to confront differences in communication, expectations, and emotional habits. Those differences can create friction. That friction can feel heavy and confusing, but it is also where understanding is formed. Hurt can be the result of two people adjusting, not two people failing. It signals that something meaningful is being shaped, not that it should be abandoned. Emotional pain often comes from vulnerability. When you allow someone close enough to affect you, you open yourself to being hurt. That vulnerability is not weakness, it is courage. Love without vulnerability is shallow and easily replaced. Deep love requires exposure, and exposure naturally comes with discomfort. The pain you feel may simply be evidence that you care enough to be affected. Hurt can also arise when old wounds are triggered. Past experiences shape how people react in present relationships. A tone of voice, a moment of silence, or a misunderstanding can awaken fears that have nothing to do with the current situation. In these moments, the pain feels intense, but it is not always caused by the person you are with. It is sometimes the echo of something unresolved within you. Growth happens when you recognize this and choose awareness over reaction. Choosing to grow through hurt requires patience. It asks you to pause and reflect instead of making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. When there is still respect, care, and effort present, hurt becomes a signal to communicate rather than escape. Growth happens in conversations that are uncomfortable but honest, in moments where both people are willing to listen instead of defend. Avoiding all pain means avoiding growth altogether. Relationships that never challenge you never change you. When hurt is met with understanding and intention, it becomes transformative. It deepens empathy, strengthens emotional intelligence, and builds a stronger foundation. Hurt does not always mean something is wrong. Sometimes it means something important is evolving. People who truly love you may struggle, withdraw, or act imperfectly, but that does not mean their love has disappeared. Love is not always expressed in clear, polished ways, especially when emotions are heavy or situations become complicated. Some people were never taught how to communicate their feelings properly. When pressure builds, they retreat into silence, confusion, or distance, not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to process what they feel. Their behavior can be painful, but the pain does not automatically cancel the love behind it. Emotional withdrawal is often mistaken for indifference, when in reality it can be a sign of overwhelm. When someone cares deeply, the fear of saying the wrong thing or making the situation worse can cause them to pull back. Silence, in these cases, is not absence of feeling, it is emotional overload. The heart is still involved, but the person lacks the tools to express it safely. This struggle is not a reflection of how little they care, but how deeply they are affected. Imperfection in love shows up as mistakes, miscommunication, and delayed responses. A person who loves you may still fail to meet your expectations at times. They may choose the wrong words, react defensively, or need space to regain emotional balance. Love does not remove human flaws. It simply means those flaws exist alongside genuine attachment and care. Expecting perfection from someone who is still learning sets the relationship up for unnecessary loss. What matters is not the momentary behavior, but the overall pattern. Love reveals itself through return, not retreat forever. A person who loves you finds their way back emotionally even after pulling away. They reflect, reconnect, and re-engage. They may struggle in the moment, but they don't disappear permanently. That return is the evidence that love is still present beneath the confusion. Struggle within love often means both people are being challenged to grow beyond their comfort zones. Growth rarely looks graceful. It looks awkward, emotional, and inconsistent. But within that mess, there is intention. Someone who truly loves you still thinks about how their actions affect you, even when they are confused. They still feel the weight of your absence. They still care enough to struggle. Understanding this requires emotional patience. It means learning to see beyond surface reactions and recognizing the emotional limitations people carry. Love expressed imperfectly is still love. When someone continues to wrestle with their emotions instead of walking away completely, it is a sign that the connection matters deeply, even if they don't always show it in the way you expect. Giving up too soon often feels like relief, but that relief is deceptive. In the heat of emotional pain, walking away can seem like the healthiest option, the quickest way to regain control and protect your heart. But many times, that decision is made in a moment of exhaustion rather than clarity. When emotions are intense, the mind looks for escape, not truth. Giving up can end the discomfort temporarily, but it doesn't always resolve the deeper feelings attached to the connection. A lot of meaningful relationships end not because love is gone, but because patience runs out. There is a stage in every real connection where things stop feeling magical and start feeling real. This is where effort replaces excitement. If you leave during this phase, you never experience what love becomes when both people choose to grow instead of quit. Love that lasts is built after the easy phase ends, not during it. Quitting early can also lead to a cycle of repeated loss. Each time someone walks away at the first serious challenge, it trains the heart to believe that love should never require endurance. Over time, this creates a pattern where every relationship feels promising at the start, but collapses under pressure. The problem is not the people, it is the lack of willingness to stay long enough to build something solid. There is also the quiet weight of regret that follows premature endings. It doesn't always show up immediately. Sometimes it appears months or years later when you realize the issues that caused the breakup could have been addressed with time, communication, and maturity. Regret is heavier than effort because effort at least offers the chance of healing, while regret only replays what could have been. When love is real, the struggle itself is meaningful. Difficulty forces honesty. It reveals emotional weaknesses and unhealed wounds that need attention. Walking away avoids that work, but it also avoids growth. Staying gives both people the opportunity to learn, adjust, and develop emotional strength together. Giving up too soon can cost you a connection that was still forming its deepest roots. Not every challenge is a sign to leave. Sometimes it is an invitation to slow down, understand more deeply, and choose endurance over escape. Actions over time reveal love more than words in good moments, and this is a truth that many people overlook when they focus only on promises and declarations. Words are easy to say, especially when emotions are high or the situation is comfortable. Anyone can tell you they care when everything is going well. But love is tested when it is inconvenient, when emotions are messy, and when circumstances make expressing care difficult. The consistency of actions in these challenging moments is what truly proves love. When someone truly loves you, you will notice patterns over time. They may not always get it right in the moment, but they continue to try. They remember the things that matter to you. They make efforts to be present even when tired or distracted, and they take steps to support you in ways that are not always visible but always meaningful. Love is not measured by perfect timing or grand gestures alone. It is measured by the repeated choice to show up. Even when it is hard, actions also reveal priorities. People make time for what is important to them, and consistent effort shows where someone's heart truly lies. If a person consistently checks in, supports you in practical ways, and invests energy into maintaining the connection, it is a clear indicator that they care. Words can be empty, but repeated actions cannot lie. They form a language that communicates dedication, concern, and respect, even in silence or difficulty. Over time, the impact of these actions becomes clearer. The small, everyday efforts build trust and security. They create a foundation that words alone cannot provide. Trust grows not from what is promised, but from what is repeatedly demonstrated. Love matures through these consistent actions, and the relationship develops a depth that cannot be achieved simply through pleasant words or superficial gestures. Actions in tough times are like proof in a courtroom. They carry weight and significance that mere statements cannot match. Finally, observing actions over time allows for clarity and perspective. Emotions can cloud judgment in the heat of a moment, but patterns are undeniable. Someone who loves you will act in ways that align with care, support, and commitment, even when it is inconvenient or challenging. By paying attention to these consistent actions, you can see the real intentions behind the words. True love is revealed not in the easy moments, but in how someone continues to show up when things are hard, when patience is tested, and when growth requires effort. Actions create a story that words alone cannot tell, and that story is what proves love's authenticity and endurance. Staying when love is real and respectful often requires more courage than walking away, and that is a truth many people fail to recognize. Society tells us to leave when things hurt, to protect ourselves at all costs, to avoid discomfort and risk. Walking away can feel empowering in the moment because it offers immediate relief from pain or uncertainty. It gives the illusion of control and safety.